You're about to hear a clip from one of our Patreon exclusive episodes. To hear the entire episode, sign up now at patreon.com/Jenkins and Jones. We had a conversation yesterday in the group chat. I think this is the other topic for today. Then Friday, we'll do sort of a regular episode with Yaps of the Week before we get to the Sunday and the championship breakdown. But we were talking yesterday in the group chat. John brought up there's been some DJ Quik versus Dr. Dre discourse online, which, like, on the one hand, I mean, obviously, and I think Tyler made that point quite eloquently in the group chat, as I'm sure he will today. You're not comparing anyone, certainly not out here, to Dr. Dre. But John's point, which I agreed with, was DJ Quik's one of those people that I think if you are a fan, you can't really be reasonable about them. And I thought that ended up turning into a bigger conversation. But why don't you explain the Dr. Dre versus DJ Quik discourse you were seeing, John?
Well, people were talking about who's better, DJ Quik or Dr. Dre. And I mean, when we talk about numbers, I mean, I think what happened was somebody said DJ Quik is who people think Dr. Dre is. And DJ Quik said, finally somebody has the balls to say it. And so I don't know what's going on there. I thought everything was smooth at this point. But anyway, for me, I'm saying, like, DJ Quik is so brilliant to me that even though Dr. Dre, if you look at stats, success, all that shit, is by far the better producer, like, you know, the best West Coast producer, I can't say anybody's better than Quik. Just like spiritually, in my body, I can't say anybody's better than Quik. And there's just certain people where I'm just not going, I'm not going to be reasonable about. You feel me? And we got into, like, you know, KD. I'm not going to be reasonable about. I think I saw KD 2017 with the Warriors. That player right there, it's hard for me to really not think he's the best bucket getter I've ever seen in my fucking life. You know what I mean? It's just Prince, you feel me? Like Miles Davis, Toni Morrison. Like, there's just people I'm just not going to be able to say anybody is better than him at. And just Quik is one of those people. Even though I look at the numbers and what Tyler said made 1,000% sense.
Yes, for sure.
But go ahead. And I agree 1,000% with Tyler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a big Quik fan too. I think that Quik is underappreciated, and you know, there's a part of me that I do not agree that he's a better producer than Dre. But if this is what gets people to give him his flowers, maybe turn some new people on to listen to him, then I'm cool with this, you know, discussion. I think that Quik doesn't get respected enough for his role that he played in bringing West Coast rap to prominence. I don't think he gets respected enough in these producer-rapper combos. I think he's an all-time great in that discussion as well. But I just think that, with no disrespect, I think he's firmly number 2 behind Dr. Dre in all these, you know, categories. I think he's the number 2 best West Coast producer ever behind Dr. Dre. And I say that because, you know, of course, you know, Dr. Dre, you know, he was the guy behind 50 Cent and Snoop and Eminem and did a bunch of sales, but it was not necessarily sales for me. To me, what makes Dr. Dre so great is that every time Dr. Dre put something out, every time Dr. Dre locked in, the landscape of rap shifted, right? Like, he was the engine behind gangsta rap, being the producer and co-front man with Eazy-E and Cube of NWA. He, you know, pioneered G-Funk with the Chronic that changed the game, brought in Snoop, you know what I mean? Like, he had you know, the Chronic and Doggy Style, those dropped in a year span, and he produced just every beat on that, just about. Like, that's just, bro, like what's touching that? And then, of course, you know, when he came out with Chronic 2001, like, he shifted the whole sound of what California West Coast production sounded like, right? Like, before, where G-Funk leaned on, like, you know, the high pitched synths, he shifted it on 2001 where production is more piano driven now. And those are still staples in West Coast production to this day, right? If you hear a beat and you think, man, that beat sounds West Coast as hell, what you're really saying is this beat sounds a whole lot like Dr. Dre, right? Like, it's got those high synths and it's got pianos in it, probably, right? And those are sounds that Dr. Dre pioneered there. So, and the point I made in the group chat is this: I love Quik's production, and I think that Quik's production, he leans on throwback sounds. He's going to take you back to, like, 1982 El DeBarge with his production. And I love that. That's my favorite thing about Quik, right? But with Dr. Dre, when he produces, he's taking you somewhere you've never been before. Dr. Dre is going to take, you know, the landscape of music. He's going to take you as a listener down a road that you've never been on before. And I think that, you know, I prefer Dr. Dre's production aesthetically, and I think that's a matter of taste, of opinion. But I don't think you can argue about who was the most influential person in shaping rap into what it is than
For sure.
for Dr. Dre over Quik.
Wouldn't even try to argue that. That'd be insanity.
Right, for
You
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like this. One thing that I do feel like Quik made it sound a particular way, but he made me look at like songs that he would create from a purview that I hadn't had before. You know what I mean? So I feel like it did. I don't think it didn't take me back in a particular way. It just made me see something I already saw or heard something I already saw in a different way. So I don't know if I think so. In the same way, I think Dre, he did the similar thing to Dre, where it sounded to me like something I hadn't heard before, even though it had elements of something that I already loved. So
I think when I look at people who are artistic, whether it's in writing or music or filmmaking or anything, I think there's sort of two main types of when you talk about top level people, there's like two types of artists to me. There's originators and there's funnels. And I don't mean any disrespect to people I would term as a funnel, but a funnel is someone who like Sublime is a funnel. Sublime did not create any of the musical styles that they were using. They just put them together in a way that they were the only group that was going to do that. And I think to me, I would say DJ Quik to me is more of an originator where he feels like you could put him anywhere and any time. And he has something about him, which I think is why I just feel personally connected with it. Whereas Dre, the G-Funk stuff, that was stuff he was picking up from other people and then advancing. And I think that was his genius. I don't mean that as any kind of, everything Tyler said is true. I agree with literally every word Tyler said. But I think that there's something to me about that, that's its own genius. And I actually almost think it's rarer than having a personal style, the ability to absorb what's around you and advance it in a way that changes the culture and the art form itself. But I think that to me is the other people I brought up that I feel similar. So I saw DJ Quik at Long Beach State with 1,500 people. That's as good of a show as I've ever seen in my life. When I saw Kendrick's show, that was what I'll always compare it to DJ Quik at Long Beach State. I just think I've seen stuff from him that no one, like you talked about with KD. I know there's better basketball players in history than KD.
Sure.
But I've seen KD in his rookie year with the Sonics where I was like, I'll never see anything like this again. This dude has decided he's going to score a basket. And if Thor dropped down from the heavens with Mjolnir, he couldn't fucking stop him. No one could, he's an immovable force in the universe. There's just people who make you, I feel that way about Lupe. I know Lupe, you would never put him next to the Mount Rushmore
Jay-Z or Biggie.
But I feel about Lupe, none of those dudes could do mural. None of those dudes could do things I've seen him do. And so I don't feel internally a need to be reasonable about it. It's just how I feel about it. That's where it comes from for me.
I think when you look at producers too, production is more than just making beats. You know what I mean? I feel Dre was the better producer because he could see the talent. He knew what to put in the gumbo. You know what I mean? But on the boards, turning them knobs, I don't think a person on the planet is better than Quik. And so it's just what do you look at more? Is it the art? You know what I mean? The raw art part of it, or and I don't say that taking anything away from Dre. You know what I'm saying? But
no, I know what you mean because I feel similar. I literally don't disagree with one word of what Tyler said.
Exactly, syllable. You know what I mean? It's just So anyway,
but I also think Dre falls victim a little bit to what we were talking about Prince and Michael Jackson, and I feel like Michael Jackson falls victim to, which Dre does too. You can also reach a level of commercial success to where it's hard to see the level of art and skill underneath it, because all of the anecdotes that get passed down through generations about you are about the commercial success. Oh, this was so much bigger than you could understand that it was. And it'll be that way with Beyonce. When we're talking to our kids about Beyonce, The anecdotes people are going to tell is about how crazy, Renaissance, like how crazy the crowds were for the Renaissance tour, the Netflix homecoming, like that people aren't going to talk about, oh, I saw this part in the documentary where she was working on this dance move for 4 hours.
Yeah. But if you watch the documentary, it's mind blowing.
Right.
How much her brilliance is in the product. You know what I mean?
For sure. So I think like a Lupe or a DJ Quik have that almost advantage when you're talking about like I'm focused on the art, because it's easier to focus on that when that's what it was about. Lupe didn't have a 10-year run where he was ubiquitous, that it's like, oh yeah, I remember, I have all these memories of my grandma knowing who Lupe Fiasco was. Like people will talk about Snoop or those guys, So I think it's easier to take that purer view of people who didn't reach the like top level of commercial success.